Maybe you know. Science meets the questions you never thought to ask. In 1980, in a basement lab at the University of Cape Town, a biologist named Rachel Buffenstein opened a plastic cage and pulled out a wrinkled, pink, almost hairless creature the size of a hot dog. It looked like a saber-toothed sausage. Buffenstein was holding an animal that would not age, would not get cancer, would barely feel pain, and for the next 45 years, she would watch hundreds of them simply refuse to die. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what's supposed to happen to a rodent. Take a lab mouse, about the same body weight as a naked mole rat, roughly 35 grams. By age 2, that mouse will have a 70% chance of developing a tumor. By age 3, almost all of them are dead. Their cells stiffen, their hearts thicken, their organs fail on a stopwatch so reliable that biologists built equations around it. The most famous of those equations is called the Gompertz Law, written in 1825 by a British actuary named Benjamin Gompertz. It says something brutal. In almost every animal, mice, dogs, humans, your risk of dying doubles every few years. For a person, that doubling time is about 8 years. For a mouse, 3 months. The bigger the body, the slower the doubling. The shorter the life, the faster. This was supposed to be a law of life itself. No exceptions. Then a wrinkled, blind, sausage-shaped rodent in East Africa walked through it like the law wasn't even there. Naked mole rats live in tunnels under the dry red soil of Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia. They were first described in 1842 by a German naturalist named Eduard Ruppel, who could not believe what he was looking at. A mammal that was practically hairless, blind, with 2 long front teeth that worked like soil-digging shovels even when its mouth was closed. For 138 years, almost no one paid attention. Then in 1980, Rachel Buffenstein started a colony. She expected them to live for maybe 5 years. 5 years passed, then 10, then 15. The original animals were still alive. By 2002, her oldest mole rat had crossed 28 years. He was healthy. He was reproducing. His blood work looked like a teenager's. Buffenstein began calling colleagues at other labs. Are yours dying? They weren't. Across labs in Texas, Illinois, and New York, the answer kept coming back the same. The rodents that should have been dead at 3 were still climbing through plastic tubes at 25. And almost none of them, out of more than 3,000 animals tracked, had ever developed a tumor. That was when the aging community realized something was very wrong, or very right. In 2013, a husband and wife team at the University of Rochester, Vera Gorbunova and Andrei Selyunov, figured out part of the trick. They were trying to grow naked mole rat cells in a lab dish. The cells refused. The liquid kept turning thick and gluey, like a beaten egg white. They almost threw the experiment out. Then they looked closer. The goo was a molecule called hyaluronan. You have it too. It's the cushion between your knee joints, the fluid in your eyeballs, the plumpness of your skin. But the naked mole rat version was 5 times longer than yours, 5 times the molecular weight, and the cells were drowning in it. That extra-long hyaluronan acts like a chain-link fence around every cell. When a cell tries to multiply uncontrollably, the first step of cancer, it bumps into the fence. Receptors on its surface fire a stop signal. 2 genes, P16 and P27, slam the brakes simultaneously. In a human cell, only one of those brakes fires. In a naked mole rat, both fire at once. Imagine a car with 2 emergency brakes wired to the same pedal. That's what's living inside their bodies. But here's where the story gets stranger. Resisting cancer is impressive. Refusing to age is something else entirely. In 2018, Rachel Buffenstein's team published a paper in the journal Life. They had tracked 3,299 naked mole rats across 35 years. They calculated daily death rates at every age. The graph that came out broke biology. Remember the Gompertz Law, the curve where your chance of dying doubles every few years? In every other mammal ever measured, that curve goes up. In humans, it bends sharply at 30. In mice, it bends at 6 months. In a naked mole rat, the line is flat. A 6-month-old mole rat and a 20-year-old mole rat have almost the same daily risk of dying. They're not just living longer. They're not aging at all in the statistical sense. A 25-year-old female can still get pregnant. A 30-year-old male's heart looks the same as a 1-year-old's on an MRI. Their bones don't thin. Their brains don't shrink. If a naked mole rat dies tomorrow, it will almost certainly be from infection, fighting, or being squashed inside the colony. Not from time. The proof gets weirder. In 2017, a neuroscientist at the University of Illinois at Chicago named Thomas Park ran an experiment that should have been illegal. He sealed naked mole rats in a chamber and slowly removed all the oxygen. A mouse in the same chamber will be dead in 20 seconds. A human in roughly 90. The naked mole rats kept walking around. At 5 minutes, fine. At 10 minutes, fine. At 18 minutes with zero oxygen, they were still alive. When Park added the oxygen back, they got up and groomed themselves like nothing had happened. He cut one open. Inside, their cells had switched fuels. Most mammals, including you, run on glucose, and without oxygen, the engine seizes within minutes. The naked mole rat had flipped to fructose, the sugar in fruit. Fructose metabolism doesn't need oxygen. It's how plants survive flooded soil. No mammal had ever been seen doing it. Park's paper, published in Science that April, ended with a sentence that read like science fiction. The naked mole rat is the only known mammal capable of anaerobic metabolism. They were technically, briefly, vegetable. And just when you think we've mapped this animal, it surprises you again. Naked mole rats don't feel certain kinds of pain. Drop a piece of capsaicin, the molecule in chili peppers, onto the foot of a mouse, and the mouse will yelp and snatch the foot away. Drop it on a naked mole rat, and the animal looks at you. Pour weak acid on its skin, the kind that would have a human screaming, and the mole rat doesn't flinch. Park, working with a German team, led by Gary Lewin at the Max Delbruck Center in Berlin, figured out why. The naked mole rat is missing a single peptide, substance P, in the nerve fibers of its skin. Without it, the pain signal never reaches the brain. They evolved this in their tunnels. Naked mole rat colonies have up to 300 members in a closed underground system, all breathing out CO2. The CO2 builds up. It mixes with skin moisture and forms carbonic acid. Any normal mammal would be in agony. The naked mole rat just keeps digging. It didn't conquer pain. They edited it out like deleting a file from the operating system of their body. Right now, in labs in Rochester, San Francisco, and Cambridge, biotech companies are trying to copy what the naked mole rat already has. In 2023, Vera Gorbinova's team took the gene for high molecular weight hyaluronan and inserted it into ordinary mice. The mice that received it developed cancer at half the rate of their littermates. They lived 4.4% longer. It was the first time in history a mammal had been engineered to be more like a mole rat, and it worked. A company called Calico, founded by Google in 2013 with a $1.5 billion mission to extend human life, has hired mole rat researchers onto its core team. Pfizer is screening drugs that mimic the break genes P16 and P27. Anti-aging clinics in California are already selling synthetic long-chain hyaluronan infusions. Whether any of this will work in humans, no one knows. Our cells are different. Our genomes are bigger. Our environment's more complicated. But for the first time in medical history, the goal isn't to slow aging from the outside with diet and drugs. It is to copy, gene by gene, a small, blind, hairless rodent that quietly figured it out about 30 million years before the first human ever drew a breath. Rochelle Buffenstein still keeps a colony. The animals she pulled from her cage in 1980, the saber-toothed sausages, blind and pink, are gone now. But their grandchildren live in her lab in San Francisco, hundreds of them, in red-lit chambers that mimic an East African burrow. Some are older than 35. They run through tubes. They mate. Their hearts beat steadily. Their cells, under a microscope, look exactly like they did the day she first saw them. We have spent 200 years writing equations about how mammals are supposed to die. And the whole time, in a few square miles of red soil under the Horn of Africa, an animal that looks like a hot dog with teeth has been ignoring every line. It doesn't know it's special. It just keeps digging. Next week, we go inside another body that breaks the rules. But this one belongs to something you've definitely seen. Probably eaten. The lobster. Because if a naked mole rat seems impossible, Wait until you find out what's been quietly happening in the cells of a creature you can buy at the grocery store. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. If this sparked a question, drop it in the comments. It might be our next video. We'll see you next time.